Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stephen Rubenstein, Chairman, Association for a Better New York, and please welcome Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Thank you all for being here. It's good to be back. 2019 was certainly an unusual one in politics for everyone, but especially for New Yorkers. We had our current mayor running for president by Memorial Day, our most recent ex-mayor, Michael Bloomberg, running for president by Thanksgiving, and our mayor before that, Rudy, running Ukrainian foreign policy. I just want to say for the record, I want more David Dinkins in the world. For mostly good reasons, people can't seem to get enough of New York. Over the decade, our city and state have been fortunate to have special people, both inside and outside of government, who are devoted to the greater good. We lost a few such champions in 2019, Robert Morgenthau, Burt Resnick, Felix Roden, and one of which I'd like to single out in particular, Jay Kriegel. Jay was an ever-joyful, ever-dedicated, and ever-present board member to ABNY. Jay was the best. He believed in people. He was someone who with great ease put others and our city and state ahead of himself. I cannot tell you how many people have told me over the years that Jay was a mentor to them. I kept thinking, how did he have time to see all these people, let alone to help them? I think people were like oxygen to Jay, and people fueled him, and we were so lucky to have him. So as we start 2020, I hope we can all catch some of Jay's magic in the new year and pass it along to the next person, just as he did. Now, as New Yorkers, we're used to a little magic, and our top magician is here with us again today. We love having the governor at ABNY because when he's with us, two things are certain. One, you know that another big project is in the works, and two, much to the pleasure of my father, Howard, the governor will find a charming way to make fun of me. The last time he was here, Governor Cuomo promised to work some of his magic on our beleaguered subway system, and he has delivered. As is his style, he said, "I got this," of course a little louder than I just said it, and he said he would improve service and speed up progress, and God bless him, he has. Last year, on-time weekday arrivals were at 69%. Thanks to him, they are now at 84%, the highest since 2013. Governor Cuomo also at that time outlined an ambitious budget that included tax cuts for the middle class, codifying reproductive rights, combating gun violence, and passing congestion pricing, and all while holding government spending to 2%. You have to give him credit. He delivered on each of these promises. And at a time when our federal government is reluctant to fund our region's infrastructure, he has still delivered with a $150 billion commitment, bringing on a much-needed infrastructure revolution across our state. In New York City alone, he has overhauled our airports. He has built new bridges. He has opened new subway and train stations, to say nothing of the infrastructure improvements he has made throughout the state. At ABNY, we know these infrastructure investments are critical to our state remaining the greatest place in the world to live, to work, and to raise a family, and we appreciate the leadership it takes to make these long-term investments. I witnessed his leadership firsthand yesterday at the UJA JCRC No Hate, No Fear March, where the governor not only led the march over the Brooklyn Bridge against anti-Semitism, but also committed millions to increase security around houses of worship, schools, and other religious institutions. He was in front yesterday, just as he was in Williamsburg last week, standing with the Hasidic community. In these times of crisis, whether they're storms, hurricanes, hate crimes, and even terrorist attacks, his hands-on approach, his skill, and his passion for all of us, for New Yorkers, give us confidence. Governor, we are deeply grateful for your strong response to these troubling anti-Semitic attacks in our city and in our state. Now, for all the pain that led to yesterday, it was a wonderful and uniquely New York thing to be there, to see so many people from different faiths, backgrounds, and communities standing and marching together. There were imams there were priests there were community leaders, and there were dozens of our political representatives, many of whom are with us here today. I want to say thank you all for marching. It was a powerful reminder that as New Yorkers, we are one community, and we don't just stand up for ourselves. Now, before I turn the stage over to the governor, who will preview some of his agenda for the coming year, it is my honor to recognize the elected officials and public servants who are here with us today. As is the case when the governor joins us, the list is long, so I would ask you to please hold your applause until the end. Former Mayor David Dinkins, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, Congressman Greg Meeks. From the state Senate, Brad Hoylman, John Brooks, Jim Gorin, Luis Sepulveda, Anna Kaplan, and Kevin Parker. From the Assembly, Richard Gottfried, Carmen De La Rosa, Rodney Spichat, David Weprin, Taylor Darling, Inez Dickens, Joanne Simon, Joe Lenthal, and Rebecca Seawright. Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer, District Attorney Cy Vance. From the City Council, Adrian Adams, Danny Drum, Ben Kalos, Robert Cornegie, Rory Lantzman, Carlos Menchaca, Donick Miller, Donovan Richards, Carlina Rivera, Yadanis Rodriguez. From the governor's administration, the awesome Melissa DeRosa, Secretary to the Governor, Robert Mojica, the New York State Budget Director, Howard Zemsky, Chairman, ESDC, Eric Gertler, President and CEO, ESDC, and the many members of the governor's cabinet that are here today. From the MTA, Pat Foy, Anthony McCord, Mario Peliquin, and various members of the MTA board, Jano Lieber, and from the Port Authority, Rick Cotton, the Executive Director. A quick pause on the two of them. I believe that when the history books are written, that these two names, that Rick Cotton and Jano Lieber, will stand out as great master builders who helped shape our city, our state, and our region. And that the New York of the 21st and 22nd centuries will look the way it will, thanks to their decades of time, energy, effort, and truly inspired service. So thank you both. Also, the Port Authority, Kevin O'Toole, and the Port Authority board members, and other guests, including Tony Kosha, and the many labor and community leaders who are here today. I want to say, hey, Jeff Wilpon, we got about as many heavy hitters in this room as you'd have on the Yankees and the Mets combined. And I want to say we are grateful to all of our public servants for what they do for the city and for the state. I also want to take one moment to thank Angela Sung Pinsky, who has just left ABNY after almost 5 years as our executive director. And to let you know that Laura Calacurcio will be our interim executive director as we conduct a search. Angela is a person of the utmost integrity with deep wisdom about and passion for our city and state. We are grateful for all she's done for ABNY in New York and for all she'll continue to do as she moves on to her new job at a little-known institution, one much younger than ABNY, mind you, called Google. And congratulations, Angela. Just one last thing before you hear from the governor. Wouldn't be an ABNY event if we didn't talk about how important the census is. In December, the governor announced he would commit $60 million to funding the 2020 census outreach. Of that $60 million, he committed $20 million to helping community-based organizations reach out to our hard-to-count populations at a time when others in our nation would work only to exclude and disenfranchise them. The census is among the most critical issues facing New York right now, and it is here. It is now. It starts in March. What does it mean? Census means money, getting what we're owed. For our schools, our playgrounds, our highways, Medicaid and Medicare, it means jobs. Businesses locate based upon census information, their stores and offices. And it means power for New York because it determines the number of elected officials we have lobbying for us and pulling for us in Albany. We have to make sure our fellow New Yorkers understand what's at stake and that are confident that it's safe and that they are counted. And we have to do better than we did in 2010, where we were wildly undercounted. Governor, I know you are doing your part and ABNY will do our part. In the next phase of our census campaign later this month, ABNY is going to launch a pro bono pop-up PR firm and communications firm, the equivalent of a campaign office for community-based organizations. We're hiring a staff that for free will advise CBOs and provide resources to them to successfully communicate about the census and get out the count. We'll not take a penny for this. We want nothing in return other than to make sure that New York gets what it deserves and what our citizens deserve. I want to thank 4 people here today. I want to thank Council Members Rivera and Menchaca, as well as Vinny Alvarez from the Central Labor Council, and Carl Weisbrot, our co-chair, for all that they do, as well as the Bloomberg Philanthropies, Ford, Con Ed, and Revson for their support. But above all, I really want to thank the governor. Your administration's commitment to the census and your leadership and the $60 million you are putting toward it will make the real difference to make sure that all New Yorkers are counted, because all New Yorkers do count. Ladies and gentlemen, our governor, Andrew M. Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please sit, eat. Your cold chicken will get colder. You can eat. I'm from an Italian-American household. I'm very comfortable with eating and talking at the same time. Thank all of you for being here. Thank ABNY for hosting this. And let's thank ABNY for all their great work. Let's give them a round of applause. Stephen Rubenstein, I'm disappointed that Stephen thinks I tease him. I thought I was just offering helpful hints and helpful advice. I never meant to tease. It pointed out that you were the son of a legendary father, a powerful father. Something you're going to have to deal with. Big shoes to fill, big shadow. Everybody saying, I knew your father, I know your father. You never really measure up to your father, Stephen. Will never happen. Stop chasing that. I feel your pain. I wouldn't mean to tease you. I would point out that was the longest acknowledgement list I have ever heard. Ever. And I've been to a lot of events. I think you acknowledged 32 people. The helpful hint, never acknowledge more than 3 people. If you only acknowledge 3 people, then everybody says, well, he only acknowledged 3 people. I wasn't one of the 3. You acknowledged 32 people. Every person in this room is now offended because every person believes they were in that 32 list. Give Stephen another round of applause. Thank you for his great leadership. Let's thank Bill Rudin, past chair, for his great leadership. He's done an outstanding job. And let's give New York a round of applause for coming together yesterday at that Solidarity March. It was New York at its best. It was a beautiful thing to see. I'm going to speak more about that at the State of the State. But let's talk about this today. Let's talk about New York City. Let's talk about starting a new year, and a happy new year, and a productive new year. And let's make a New Year's resolution that this year we're going to do something great in the city of New York. We're going to give people something to look forward to, some confidence. We're going to get consumer optimism up, citizen optimism up, business optimism up, and we're going to really start to move the ball forward. Let's remember what New York is all about. New York was not made as a God-given gift. It's not the Grand Canyon. It's not the Adirondacks. This accomplishment was made by New Yorkers. It was our vision. It was our daring. It was our talent. It was our chutzpah. It was our arrogance. We did this. This is all a made space. And what drove the development was our investment in perfection of transportation systems. The transportation system can grow or shrink the economy. And what we did, rightly so, is we built roads, we built subways, we built mass transit, Long Island Railroad, Metro North, new bridges, new airport terminals, and that drove growth. And then we stopped. Ask yourself, when was the last great advancement that we built? What was it? Verrazano Bridge, 1964, yeah, great for Staten Island, built Staten Island. But what have we done in modern history that keeps that New York building energy, that constant momentum going? And it's not just New York, it's nationwide. Every president, Democrat, Republican, has said we have to build more infrastructure. President Trump, when he starts, $2 trillion in infrastructure, don't worry, I promise. Yeah, it never materialized, but not just President Trump. Recent presidents, just nothing has happened. Meanwhile, around the world, they're building, they're growing. You look at what China is doing. You look at the bridges they're opening, the subway station. You look at what's happening in Switzerland, the world's largest tunnel, 35 miles long, the Paris metro, increased ridership over 40%. Istanbul, it's happening all across the world. China, largest airport terminal in the world is China. The law of the economic jungle remains the same. You either grow or you get left behind. You either move forward or someone else is going to move forward and they're going to pass you by. State of New York said, we're not going to wait. We're not going to wait for the federal government, and we're not going to stand still. And this state is building more than any state in the United States. Not plans, not hopes, not proposals, not press releases. Shovel in the ground, we are doing it. Not since Robert Moses has this state been building more, faster, or better. Now we start the new year for New York City. Let's focus on the looming challenges that we see every day. New York City is suffocating from its own congestion. Volume is up, traffic is up, ride-hailing services have complicated the traffic system, delivery vehicles, because now everybody goes on the internet and everybody needs everything tomorrow morning, and somehow the systems figure out how to get it there. We've had lane reductions on streets. You put all those things together, and you have the congestion that you see out there every day. And it is now suffocating. And it will limit our growth. What do we have to do? We have to minimize vehicles and maximize public transportation, mass transportation. You can't do one without the other. You can't say to people, don't take your vehicle unless you have a mass transit system that they believe they can get on that is efficient, effective, and safe. You can't have one without the other. You have to do both. So today we're announcing a plan to add mass transit capacity and further New York City economic development. And the time is now. First of all, because the situation is critical, and we have to address it now. Second of all, because we have a moment of opportunity. We have a new threshold that we're about to hit. This year, the end of this year, we're going to open the new Moynihan Train Hall in the Farley Post Office. It opens this December 2020. This is an historic milestone. First of all, it is going to be stunning. It is a world-class train hall. It's something that when you walk in, you're going to be blown away. And it's going to bring back that New York greatness that people came to expect. The skylight, the architecture is really extraordinary. But when it opens, it's going to give us more flexibility in the Penn Station transportation complex. Moynihan started 30 years ago. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan had a good idea. Why don't we use the post office across the street from Penn Station to expand use? It was a good concept, but it never advanced. It was government paralysis. It was complicated, and nothing happened. We came in, we said, let's develop a full plan, let's get it done, and we've been moving full speed ahead. We added some components to the plan. We added a new West End concourse that opened up in 2017. It is beautiful, and it's operational, and it's done. We also said, let's take the Long Island Railroad concourse, which is one of the most congested concourses in Penn. Let's double the size and redo that entire corridor from one end of Penn Station all the way through to Moynihan Station. And let's put a new entrance for the Long Island Railroad to cut down on the density, and let's make it a beautiful, iconic entrance on 7th Avenue. That is underway as we speak, and that's going to be completed the end of this year when Moynihan opens. Under our plan, when the Moynihan train hall is finished, both the Long Island Railroad and Amtrak move from Penn and into Moynihan train hall. That was also different from the original vision, which was the Long Island Railroad would remain in the old Penn. Now both Amtrak and the Long Island Railroad move into Moynihan. When that happens, you can now start to look at the next step, which is, what do we do about Penn Station? Penn Station has 200 million people go through it per year. Penn Station has more people go through it than LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark Airport combined. That's Penn Station. Just imagine how many people are coming through Penn, and that's their first impression of New York. How many people are dealing with that experience? I have been highly critical of Penn Station. I've referred to it as reminiscent of Dante's levels of hell. Amtrak got offended. I told them I wouldn't say it again, but I guess I just did. But I won't say it again. But Penn Station has been another example of paralysis and government paralysis. We've talked about it for decades. Plans to reimagine Penn Station have never proceeded, and the plans have always focused on the terminal and Madison Square Garden. And why don't we move Madison Square Garden? It's problematic to move Madison Square Garden. It's big, it's expensive, you have to find a place to put it. It's not that easy. But Madison Square Garden and the terminal is not the problem at Penn. The number one rule of architecture and design is never put aesthetics before function. The problem with Penn Station is the functionality, is the track capacity. There are only 21 tracks in Penn Station. That's all you can get in that footprint. And the 21 tracks are not enough. And they're crammed in, and that's why you have narrow platforms. That's why you have trains backing up. When you go to fix one of the tracks, which is what we've gone through for the past couple of years, you have to stop all the trains coming into the station. Even if you got a large crane, lifted up Madison Square Garden, moved it somewhere, and built the Taj Mahal above Penn Station, you still have the same problem, which is the density and not enough tracks to handle the capacity. That is the problem. Now, when you add Moynihan, you actually add additional terminal capacity. So you can come up through Penn, or you can come up through Moynihan, which is going to be beautiful. And I believe people are going to enter and exit through Moynihan just because it's going to have a retail complex. It's going to be extraordinary. But Moynihan doesn't solve your underlying problem, which is you still have only 21 tracks, and you still have the same footprint. You have a better terminal, better aesthetics, but you haven't addressed the real issue. Moynihan will bring about 40 new staircases. It brings new escalators. Great. It's a great terminal alternative. It doesn't add to the tracks. Well, how do we get more tracks? Sometimes there is no little fix that works, and this is one of those situations. The only way you get more tracks is by increasing the footprint. There is no other way to do it. So you can either expand to the north, you can expand deeper down into Penn, bring more people up through Penn, or you can expand to the south. We've analyzed this, and we believe the best alternative is to expand by acquiring the block south of Penn Station and increasing the footprint that way and making it a viable system once again. It would be a 40% increase on the size of Penn. It would add about 8 tracks, about a 40% increase in the number of tracks. Remember at Penn, right now, Penn cannot handle our volume and our capacity. So it would address that. Remember, right now, Penn cannot even handle our planned growth that we have scheduled by our other developments. And Penn is limiting your growth. One of the brilliant aspects of New York was when we built something, we anticipated future growth. We built the George Washington Bridge. It's still handling capacity. Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel. We built the subway system. 1904, it had 72 million riders. Today, 1.6 billion riders are on the same system that they built in 1904 for 72 million. Why? Because they anticipated growth. Right now, we have no capacity for growth in terms of mass transit. And that is the only way you're going to reduce the congestion. It would also get you new terminal space to further reduce the volume in Penn. It would increase the square footage dramatically. Moynihan is another 255,000 square feet. This would be an additional 125,000. It would create multiple access points to get in and out of Penn, especially at this time where of new security concerns. You want to make sure people can get in, and you want to make sure people can get out quickly if they need to. And this would address that at the same time. With the additional terminal space, you could then start to close down parts of the old Penn and redo the old Penn. Redoing the old Penn is not going to be that simple. We're not talking about a couple of cans of paint and brushes. This is a fundamental reconstruction of the existing Penn because we want to change it into a world-class experience, different ceilings, retail, etc. The entire old Penn complex has to be redone. You can't do that until you have a place to move the people and the traffic. And these additional terminal capacities would allow us to do that. But Penn has to become a world-class facility also. We're also exploring the acquisition of the MSG Theater, which is on 8th Avenue. That would give us yet another new entrance into Penn Station, and it would open up Penn Station by bringing light down into Penn Station. The acquisition of the theater would be nice. It's a question of the economic feasibility of that acquisition because it's not essential, but it's something that we would be looking at the same time. At the same time we're doing this, we would also create basically the surrounding parcels with additional entrances and exits and make the entire area basically a transit-oriented development right in the middle of Manhattan. We would do this knowing that this is a project that we can actually do on our own. I'm not, as governor of New York, going to wait for the federal government to reverse themselves and decide they want to help New York or they want to fund the Gateway. I'll keep fighting for it, but I'm not going to depend on it. We have to make our own future, and that's what we're going to do. If Gateway ever developed, and if they ever built 2 new tunnels across the Hudson, which is what Gateway is all about, this could accommodate it and facilitate it, but it's not contingent upon it. We would then link Moynihan, Penn, and this new South Block all as one interconnected transit complex, tripling the capacity of people, volume, retail, making it a real place that we're proud of. Tremendous volume, 200 million people. Put out a front door that we're proud of, that reflects us, that makes it a place that people actually want to come, rather than a place that people have to tolerate and endure as part of coming to New York. The current block south of Penn has a number of real estate holdings. Amtrak owns property there, the Archdiocese of New York, office, residential use, so there are community facilities. The state will plan to acquire it for public use. We're already speaking to people. The funding for Empire Station Complex will come from the revenues that are generated there. ESD will work with MTA and Amtrak and New York City and the community boards and all the stakeholders to develop a general project plan for the district. ESD has done some really amazing work, and I'd like to recognize them. We have the chairman here today, Howard Zemsky, who is the man who single-handedly turned around the economy of Buffalo, and our new president, Eric Gertler. Let's give them a round of applause. They will be working with all the relevant stakeholders, the community groups, the community boards, the civic groups, the elected officials, New Jersey Transit, on coming up with a plan. They've already engaged a planner to help start master planning and consulting on the design of the project, FX Collaborative, and that has started and going forward. So, to recap it, because there are a few moving pieces, finish Farley-Moynihan. That should be the end of this year. Move the Long Island Railroad and Amtrak into Farley-Moynihan. That increases terminal space by about 42%. Expand the Long Island Railroad corridor. That'll be a 100% increase of that space. A new Long Island Railroad entrance on 7th Avenue. Acquire the South Block. Add 8 new tracks, which takes you from 21 plus 8. That's a 40% increase. Additional terminal space there. Explore acquiring MSG Theater, which would be nice, but not necessarily, the project's not contingent on that. I just want to set the table for the negotiation. Reconfigure and upgrade the existing Penn, rebuilding that, combine Penn, Farley-Moynihan, and the New South Terminal into one Empire State Complex, transform the adjoining parcels into one transit-oriented district. That's the plan. Penn Station. Now remember, this is one piece of the puzzle, right? Because we have multiple things that are going on and they all work together. We're doing, as I said, more building and development than any state in the United States. And these pieces are all interconnected. So on Long Island, we're building a new second track and a new third track. We're redoing 39 Long Island Railroad stations. We're going to increase the number of people coming in on the Long Island Railroad. We need to increase the number of people coming in on the Long Island Railroad. And we're building the tracks to do that and the stations to do that. They're going to be coming in to Grand Central. They're going to be coming in to Penn. We have East Side Access that is bringing the Long Island Railroad to Grand Central. That started in 1969. Literally, Mayor Lindsay and Nelson Rockefeller broke ground, okay? But we're going to finish that project, long overdue. And that is going to be a game changer. Again, more train access coming in. We then will have Long Island Railroad and Metro North will enter Grand Central and Penn Station. It is going to make a tremendous difference in the accessibility and the efficiency of mass transit. Getting East Side Access accomplished is one of the most daunting tasks. I've been involved in a lot of construction projects, but this really takes it to a new level. But as Stephen pointed out, Jano Lieber is going to go down in the history books with Rick Cotton and Eric Gertler and Howard Zemsky. These are the Robert Moses of today. Let's give Jano Lieber a big round of applause. We're going to build a new LaGuardia airport. It's already starting to happen. It's going to be the first new airport in the United States of America in 25 years. Part of the new airport is a new air train. The air train will also be coming into Grand Central and Penn Station. So that's going to be additional volume that is coming in that we have to anticipate. We're also building 4 new Metro North stations in the Bronx, which will bring development to the Bronx that has been long overdue. We've developed Brooklyn, we've developed Queens, you look at the New Jersey waterfront, we have the Bronx right there. I believe this access to mass transit, 4 stops coming right into Penn, this is going to help the Bronx expand and explode. It's also going to bring more volume that we have to anticipate coming into Penn. And then we have the new JFK International Airport. It's going to be finished 2025. It is a $13 billion project that is going to be a complete overhaul. We started already. American Airlines and British Airways broke ground on their terminal last month. It's on time, it's on budget. American Airlines and British Airways are here with us today. Let's congratulate them, welcome them to New York. And Rick Cotton, what he has done in the Port Authority, which has been a sleeping giant for many, many years. But Rick Cotton is the executive director, and Kevin O'Toole, who's here as the chairman, they actually made it work again. And building a new LaGuardia and JFK, they will be game changers for New York. Let's thank Rick Cotton and Kevin O'Toole. Also, much of this is pointing towards the West Side. The West Side is going to see an explosion in growth. You have Hudson Yards, which is a remarkable project that is going on. You have Jacob Javits Convention Center, which is right now adding 1.2 million square feet. $1.5 billion project, increases the capacity of Javits 50%. It's going to be finished 2021. You have Pier 76, which is an amazing 250,000 square foot pier. It has tremendous potential. It goes out into the Hudson River. It's across from Javits. It's where the High Line ends. It's across from Hudson Yards. Right now it's being used by the NYPD as a tow pound. It is the most expensive parking lot on the globe. The most expensive parking lot on the globe. Only government, right? 1998, when they formed the Hudson River Park Trust, City of New York said they would use their best efforts to vacate the pier because everybody knew it was absurd to be using it as a parking lot. That was 1998. This is 20 years later. It's still a tow pound. A tow pound does not have to be indoors. A tow pound does not have to be on a pier. A tow pound does not have to be on a pier with a view of the Hudson River. I'm going to propose in the state of the state in 2 days that the pier must be vacated by the NYPD at the end of the year and turn it over to the Hudson River Park Trust. The Pier 76 is a tremendous opportunity, as is Pier 40, which is also part of the Hudson River Park Trust, which is further south. The Hudson River Park Trust should develop a plan for both Pier 76 and Pier 40 that coordinates the need, financial need, access, recreational need, et cetera, because those are 2 great assets. And we want a plan from the Hudson River Park Trust this year on how to use both. And remember, the overall purpose is to get people out of cars and into better mass transit. That's what we're trying to do. That's why central business tolling, which increases the toll for cars in the central business district, Manhattan, which is saying we'd rather you not drive into Manhattan, into the congested area. That's part of it. Okay, now you're making it, you have a deterrent to drive the car, but you have to make mass transit work better. And that's why at the same time we have the largest capital plan for the MTA in history, $52 billion. And we are not only operating the MTA better, but at the same time we're making it more efficient, more effective. We have a transformation team, Anthony McCord, who's here today, Mario Pelequin, who's here today, working with Pat Foy. That is the bureaucratic beast, the MTA. And it is moribund, and it should have been reformed decades ago, but it was too complicated and too controversial to take on. But we don't have a future unless we take it on. And I want to congratulate Anthony and Mario and Pat for what they're doing. Let's give them a round of applause. Little perspective. We start a new year, we reflect what's good, what's bad, we recalibrate. And I think it's time for us to do that in New York City. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of anxiety in the world, we have a lot of problems, but let's put it all in focus, right? We've gone through economic up and downs. It is a cycle, we know that, and we're accustomed to that. We go through different political cycles. We've had Democratic mayors, we've had Republican mayors, that happens. We've gone through cycles of government competence. Sometimes it works better, sometimes it works not as well. People talk about the condition of the city. Yeah, I'm old. You think the condition of the city is troublesome. You have to remember the 70s and the 80s, what the city looked like, right? So we've gone through this before. This is nothing we haven't seen and nothing that we haven't handled. But let the economy change, let politics change. We are in control of our own destiny. If we improve the asset and build on the asset, the future is ours. What makes New York? We were the place that people wanted to be. We attracted the talent. This is where you wanted to come to be educated. This is where you want to come if you want to be the exemplar in your industry. That is New York. And you keep doing that. Business wants to be here. People want to be here. That's the energy of New York that makes New York, New York. You have to keep building and developing that energy. You cannot stand still. Well, it's hard to build. I know it is. I know it is, but you have to continually be improving and moving. You know what they're doing around the world. You do nothing, they pass you by. Well, it's harder to build than ever before. It is. We decentralize the approval process, and we politicize the approval process. Now you have to go through 9,000 political levels of political approvals before you can get a project done. Yes, there's an anti-development mentality. We want to develop. That's bad. How can development be bad? That's how we made New York, New York. That's how you grow. That's how you build. That's the mindset. Yes, it's litigious. Everybody's going to sue you for everything. I get it. Yes, there are going to be naysayers, and the project's not going to be perfect, and everybody's going to want to change. I get it. I get it. But there is no alternative, because paralysis is a death sentence. Inertia is a death sentence. If we do nothing, the world passes us by, and that's not who we are. It's not who we ever were. We looked at the world and we said we're going to be better. We said we are going to be the best. That's who we are, and we just have to do it like we have done it before, and we can do it. It's who we are in our DNA. It's the blood that runs in our veins. It's what we've done for generations. You tell us that we couldn't do it. It only got us excited to do it again. And we did the impossible, and we did the impossible over and over again. The longest bridges, the tallest buildings, Empire State Building, in the middle of a depression, they went and they got it built in 1 year. Penn Station, everything we did was a marvel. And people said we couldn't do it, but we did it. Battery Park City, a state project built on fill, made the whole west side of Manhattan. Unimaginable, these projects. Gutsy, courageous, risky, yes, but we did it. Because it was hard, we did it. And we're doing it today. Don't you for a moment doubt what we can do when we put our mind to it, because we're proving what we can do. We built the largest infrastructure project in the United States of America. The United States of America. Federal government put the new Tappan Zee Bridge on the cover of the federal budget because it was the largest infrastructure project in the country. We got it done on time and on budget, and we did it beautifully because that's who we are. LaGuardia Airport, they said you can't operate the airport and build a new airport at the same time. The whole airport is the size of a postage stamp. It's impossible. We're doing it, and it's the first new one in 25 years. Moynihan Train Hall is going to be an international marvel. We brought cashless tolling to all the bridges and all the tunnels. We're bringing it to the thruway. The Javits Convention Center, 50% increase on time, on budget. It's happening. We get into trouble. We have difficult projects. The L train, they said they had to close it down for 2 years. Brooklyn erupted. They wanted to secede. They wanted to become part of Jersey. We came in and we found a way to make it work where it didn't close at all, so we can handle the challenges, we can handle the problems. Kosciuszko Bridge, 4 years ahead of schedule and on budget. Long Island Railroad, Long Island double track, after 20 years of talking, we came in and we did it. We're building more renewable energy projects than any state in the United States of America. We're doing the largest development of offshore wind in the Western Hemisphere off Long Island right now. And we did all of this, and we did a new Rochester Airport, a new Syracuse Airport, a new Ithaca Airport, a new Elmira Airport, new Plattsburgh Airport, new Albany Airport, all on time and all on budget. $65 billion in construction, happening in a professional, on-time, efficient, effective way. And we balanced budgets all in the middle of it. Everyone in this room pays a lower tax rate today than the day I was elected. Everybody in this room pays a lower tax rate today than the day I was elected. Only Steven Rubenstein is going to pay a higher tax rate this year, but that's just personal anger. Everyone pays a lower tax rate. Our state government's budget has gone up 2% per year. Only 2% per year, year-to-year increase. Lowest increase in modern political history. Lower than Republican governors, lower than Democratic governors. Lowest middle-class tax rate since 1947, lowest manufacturer's tax rate since 1917, lowest corporate rate since 1968. All this construction, all this work, and taxes are down on the state level. So the future is what we make it. We are in control. We have the capacity, we have the ability, we have the smarts. Yes, it's hard, but it's always been hard. Building the future is always hard. We just have to regain that boldness and be okay with that boldness and put aside timidity and doubt and be willing to stand up and fight the fight for what is right. That's how we start this new year. We're going to do it together, and we're going to make it great. Thank you, and God bless you.
That's awesome. Let me thank the governor for actually doing things that we know to be hard. And I'll say two things about it, which will put this in historical reference. I think the recreation of Penn Station and what that means as a doorway for New York is so important. Probably unlike anything since we opened Penn Station over 100 years ago. I'm going to borrow a term that hasn't really been used much since Robert Moses, but you have to look at this and think of the governor as an amazing master builder for which we are truly grateful. So the governor has agreed to take a few questions. All right, as I should do. My former chairman, Bill Rudin.
Governor, wow, that was an incredible speech. And as you said, we have to work together to get your agenda done, and we will. You have I think everybody in this room's commitment. But I just want to switch over to something that's immediate, that's happening in our city and state that I think is disturbing everybody, not just in this room, but throughout the state and the country. And it was related to the amazing outpouring yesterday of the march in solidarity of what is going on with anti-Semitism. In the last month alone, I think there was 24 or 26 attacks. Obviously, the one upstate was horrific. Yeah, I think in a lot of people's minds, this is tied in to obviously an embedded anti-Semitic fervor that's going on around the world, but also with our criminal justice reform and the leniency that has just went into effect the last couple of days. So can you just tell us what your thoughts are on how to help solve this problem and move our city and state and country forward in a positive way?
Yes. Thank you, Bill, for that. I know how to handle finances. I know how to handle crises, storms. I know how to handle construction. This issue of the anti-Semitism, but broader than just anti-Semitism, the hate, the anger, the division, is the most frightening issue that keeps me up at night. And I think it should keep us all up at night. It didn't start in New York, right? In many ways, it started first in other parts of the country. We've seen synagogue massacres, et cetera, in other parts of the country, but now it's here in New York. There is no one simple answer. Government should act. You know, I hate when government says, we offer thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. Yeah, that's not your job. You're a government. You don't do thoughts and prayers. We go to a priest or a rabbi for thoughts and prayers. You do something. And the state is going to be very aggressive. I want to propose at the state of the state a domestic terrorism law because these people are domestic terrorists, and I want them prosecuted that way. We are going to do more state police in the hate crimes area. We set a 1-877 tip line. I'm going to be going to the schools, and I want the schools to be a big part of this process, because what we're teaching our youth, a lot of these incidents are young people, and they just don't know who we are and where we came from and what it means to be a New Yorker, and how the diversity is a beautiful component to who we are. Mayor Dinkins, God bless him, used to talk about the mosaic of New York because it was beautiful when you put all those pieces together. And our students have to understand that. Our faith-based leaders have to be part of it. So we need everybody on all levels. It's not just a New York issue, and I'm not deferring, but I believe it's a nationwide situation. I think the political system nationwide is fueling the anger, the polarization, the demonization. You know, everything is blame. You have problems rather than addressing our problems. What are we doing? We're blaming other people, which, by the way, was always a lot easier, right? That's the cheap way out, except it's not really a way out at all. It just makes the situation worse by spreading division, and that's what we've done. Maybe it didn't start in New York, but I think we should aim to end it in New York. And the bail laws just went into effect a couple of days ago. Bail reform is right. You have a criminal justice system that basically says now you get arrested. If you can make bail, you're released. If you can't make bail, you sit in Rikers for 2 years and get abused until you have your day in court. And meanwhile, you've been in Rikers for 2 years and you haven't been found guilty of anything. And bail is predicated on wealth. So if you have access to wealth, you make bail. If you don't have access to wealth, you don't make bail. That's not justice. Justice was never supposed to be who has money in their pocket gets out. But changing the system, which we started to do, is complicated and then has a number of ramifications. There's no doubt this is still a work in progress, and there are other changes that have to be made. Again, it's literally 3 or 4 days. The legislature comes back next year, and we're going to work on it because there are consequences that we have to adjust for.
More? Oh, I see Carol Kellerman all the way back there. Carol? Hey, Carol, you got a mic right behind you, Carol.
Got a mic? Governor, in addition to the State of the State on Wednesday, over the next few weeks, you will be presenting your budget for the next fiscal year, and your office has indicated that there's about a $6 billion deficit. Are you going to propose revenue raisers, in particular, some form of taxes to cover all or part of this deficit?
Yeah. Short answer is no. But this is what I believe, Carol. You know, we have equated government, politicians' response. Well, we have a problem. The answer is more money. No, there's not necessarily a correlation between more money and better product, right? You look at all we're doing in our state government, all we're building, all we're accomplishing. I believe we have the most active state government in modern history, and I've been watching it all my life. And we're spending less money than other state governments. How can it be? How can you be spending less and doing more? Because you can scrutinize the process and be more efficient and be more effective like companies are every day. You have to remain competitive and you have to remain efficient and effective, and the answer isn't always more money. It's government's answer because it's a legislative answer because they don't have executive control. So the simple answer is, we have to make education better. I'm spending more money. You're already spending more money per pupil than any state in the United States of America, but you're in the middle when it comes to performance. So the answer is not always more money. And some of these situations are structurally problematic. We have a problem with Medicaid that is going up very high. A one-shot cash revenue is not the answer. Fix the problem. Money tries to paper over the problem, and I'm not in the papering over business. Also, I am worried about the environment in New York City particularly. I'm worried about the effect of losing the SALT removal, where people's taxes went up because Trump increased them by the SALT reduction of state and local taxes, which really increased taxes. And people are mobile. And I think the one saving grace is we've been able to say, we have reduced your taxes on the state level. And I want to continue to be able to say that. And money is not going to solve our Medicaid problem. The health costs have to be addressed structurally. And a one-shot dose for the system of sugar to give us a short high with revenue is not the answer.
Tonya?
You better have a nice question, Tonio. I've known you 30 years. I'm just telling you, if you ask me a nasty question, Matilda is going to call you this afternoon. All right? You know what that means.
Governor, I was only going to say regards from Dante's Inferno here. But the truth is, Governor, happy Three Kings Day. Very important day for us of the Latino community. Secondly, congratulations on being elected vice chair of the National Governors Association.
Oh, thank you.
Which is very important. And my question actually is about how did you do all of these amazing infrastructure projects that no other governor in 49 states and 4 territories have not been able to do?
Yeah, that is a good question. You have to be a little crazy to do this, to begin with. I think, Tonio, look, politicians avoid risk, right? And these are all high-risk situations. You go to build an airport, you make people uncomfortable during the process, maybe you're going to be over budget, maybe you're going to run into a problem. It's risky. Politicians avoid risk. Second, it's expensive, and I believe it actually makes you money long term, and I believe it costs you money not to do it, but short term it's expensive. Politicians tend not to do it because it's not going to happen in their lifetime, because normally these projects take so long. So why would I start a project for my successor to open? Right? There's no personal interest for a politician. And very often they don't have the talent, you know, or the aptitude for it. Politicians are not builders. They're politicians, right? I come from a background of, I've been in the federal government, I've been in state government, I've been in local government, I was in the private sector, I built, and I happen to have the talent, you know. I have guys like Rick Cotton. No, not me. I can't put 2 bricks together. I'm just the good looks of the operation. That's why we're in trouble. We have Rick Cotton, we have Jan O'Lieber, we have Eric Gertler, we have Howard Zemsky. We have the talent pool to do this. And any one of these people could be in the private sector making 57 times what they make here, have a better life, and not have to deal with me. So that's a blessing. But I really do believe fundamentally is you don't have an alternative. You don't have an alternative. Not if you want New York to be the New York that we inherited. If we don't do these changes and grow, our children inherit a different New York than we inherited. They will not have a world-class city or state. They will have passed us by. And that, my friends, will be a tragedy that none of us will be able to sleep with. Fundamental responsibility, when the day is done and you pass the baton to your children, make sure you made the place better and stronger and sweeter and fairer. Otherwise, you failed, and we're not going to fail.
Since we're about at our limit of time, I just want to ask, the toe pound on the west side, a couple of questions. How'd you find it? What can we do with it? And will it be hard to get control of it?
The toe pound, my grandfather, my father's father's name was Andrea. I'm named for him, Andrew. And he had nothing to do with politics, etc. And he hated politicians. And whenever the politicians would come on, first on TV, he would go like this. I didn't even know what he was doing as a kid. That's all he was doing. And when I was like 20 years old, I said, Grandpa, what is that? He said, all they do is talk. All they do is talk, these people. And then he loved to pick out these situations that were like so idiotic that only government would do it. He loved to complain about the construction on the roads, but there were no people, you know. So he'd love to pick out these idiotic situations. I thought of him with the toe pound. There's no explanation. There is just no explanation. Why are the NYPD using a billion parcel for a parking lot? There is no answer, because they want to. That's why. And somebody would have had to disrupt to change it. And the system doesn't like to be disrupted. And nobody wants to disrupt the NYPD. It's nice to have a parking lot on the Hudson River with a view. You can have lunch. I mean, it's nice. 1998, the city says we're going to use our best efforts to get off the tow pound. 20 years, nothing happens. That's government. Bureaucracy begets bureaucracy. To change the bureaucracy is energy and confrontation. I say this today, now the NYPD is angry at me. I have to make sure I don't get a speeding ticket. You know, why cause the disruption? So it's easier not to do it. But, which is the point of my whole administration and the point of today. Easy is not why we're here. Easy did not make New York, New York, my friends. Hard is what made New York, New York. And we can't have a tolerance for stupid anymore. And that's what this is. Thank you, and God bless you.